This is my good buddy Sammy. How are you, Sammy? This is Aftermath for February the 10th, 2024. This is our 25th episode, Sammy. 25 years, the 25th anniversary, bro. in a milder term, we did this within a year, though.
Yeah.
How have you been, man?
Good. I mean, we had an extremely busy week at work. I did the typical 5 straight, not 9 to 5, but opening shift mostly throughout the week, and a lot of freight, a lot of stock moving through. It was a busy one, and I am very tired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can actually say the same thing with my job. I've been doing lots of overtime, so well, I'm in the process right now. I drive my boss into work.
Right.
He doesn't have a vehicle. So I'm kind of have to whistle to his tune, whereas I was always getting off at 2:30 every day. Like, unless I was behind. If I was behind, I would live up to my responsibility and get my portion of work done.
Yep.
Which is fine. But I pretty much have an option. Well, it almost seems like I have that option. I can work overtime as much as I want, which is kind of cool. But we have to start clamping down now because we're getting a lot less jobs coming in right now. We're just working on the Kelowna Tower right now, and they're kind of stagnant right now because they're behind on other contractors getting their stuff done. So, and we hired a whole bunch of guys. So right now there's not really enough hours to add up the constitution of having that many employees. And we just hired them. So do we lay them off? I don't know, like what's going to go on. But yeah, I too have been doing some long hours. It's all right though. It's the worst part, and I tell you, oh my God, I should actually tell you this story. I'm going into work, what was it? Not last Tuesday, the Tuesday prior. So the Tuesday just after our last episode. And the fog from Vernon into Lake Country was so bad, I nearly went into the oncoming lane and got into a head-on collision. So yeah, it was like my boss is like, and he has a very, like, when he yells, it's like, coffee, right? So you can imagine that voice coming out, Gene, right? Like 2 inches from my head, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was a little bit of a scary. I'm not a comfortable night driver in the wintertime, and I told him next year, you're taking me into work every day during the wintertime. I'm not doing this anymore. It's gotten actually to a point where I told them I'm coming in at 7:30. I'm not coming in at 6. I need a little bit of light on the roads because I'm 51 years old, man. My eyesight isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough about me. We got a lot to talk about, Sam. We're gonna do part 2 of the 2018 hockey scandal. We're going to talk about the All-Star game that happened last weekend. A bad injury to Tampa Bay's Mikhail Sergachev. And I do it to you again, Sammy. And I promise you, in 2 weeks, unless McDavid breaks his leg or something, we're not going to talk about the Oilers. I'm going to try to really avoid an Oiler conversation next week. But we have to talk about the streak coming to an end. So we will talk about all that stuff, Sammy. Before we get into the next subject, guys, again, I'm going to reiterate that it is a subject that deals with very sensitive subject. So I'm going to give a trigger warning to those of you who may have been affected by sexual assault in some sort of way. And if you feel the need that you might need to walk away from the screen, or you don't want your children submitted to the content that we're talking about, I'm just giving you a warning. That's what we're getting into on the first subject of things, which we now got some answers, Sammy. And it's unfortunate, but basically all the leads that we had were indicating that those players that we mentioned, and I'm going to get into them a little bit once I set up my banners here. There we go. The players that we mentioned last week, and we were kind of pinpointing Michael McLeod, Cal Foote, Dylan Dubé, Alex Fermenton, and who else did I miss here? Oh, and Carter Hart, yeah. They have been officially charged in the sexual assault of a young girl back in 2018 after following a Team Canada event back in June of that year. It is now official. McLeod, however, does have 2 charges in relation to this, as he faces a second charge of being a party to the sexual assault. And I didn't really, I watched the whole police conference, and I didn't really understand. And they didn't really give much information, obviously, because it is it's an ongoing case, and they can't do anything to scrutinize the case. I get that. But holy hell, Sam, I don't know if you've watched it, but they were hounding the police of London for how long it took. Why is it being reopened again? What new evidence? And it was almost like they were forgetting about the players' actions. It was like, why did they do what they did? I don't know if you watched it. What was your take on it? Did you watch it?
I watched clips of it. I haven't sat down to watch the whole thing yet. I just haven't found the time to watch the whole thing. But yeah, just from what I got, like you said, it was a lot of them almost placing blame on themselves and apologizing for having this investigation taken so long and for having it been kind of thrown out to begin with. Then now being opened up 5 years later, almost 6 years later, I guess. It just, yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, and it's a touchy thing. I've struggled to put into words, but my whole thoughts around this whole thing, especially pertaining to the press conference, because like you said, they didn't put a whole lot of information out there during that, right? Like they didn't necessarily clear up a whole lot of stuff other than for sure, hey, these are the 5 guys, but they didn't really give a lot other than that. And like you said, it's an ongoing investigation, and so they're still putting pieces together, still figuring things out, and so they can't really necessarily give too much. I'm sure whenever this case is completely shut, closed, and done, that we'll have more details, we'll have the whole story, but as of right now, we just know who did it, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I don't know what the name of it. I don't have the name of the chief of police here, but he did say that when the time is right, he's going to reveal more. So let's hope that we can bank it on that. It's unfortunate because, I remember me as a child growing up with Wayne Gretzky, Glenn Anderson, Grant Fuhr, Mark Messier. Those guys were heroes to me as a child, right? There's 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds right now that look up to Carter Hart, think he's the most amazing human being. Dylan, maybe, I don't know so much about Dylan Dubé. I mean, yeah, he's a professional athlete, but Carter Hart, out of all of them, is probably the most successful. And I guarantee there's tons of kids that want to be that goaltender of Carter Hart. And this sends such a shitty message, man. And yes, look, I don't even want to say they were young and made this mistake. I mean, they were young men at this point in time. They knew better. Right? So, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I've told the guys at work, these are players that were given the kingdom or the keys to the kingdom, and they've just pissed it away. Because they're not going to be re-signed or anything like that. Even if, honestly, I don't think they'll be even re-signed for the fact that they were in association to this. If they get cleared of all these charges, unless I guess we'll have to wait and see. But just the fact that they are associated to this may tamper their chances of getting signed again. Maybe Edmonton will sign them. It seems like Edmonton signs all day. I'm not going to go there, though. I'm not gonna go there because when the guys that we did sign weren't to that extreme. First of all, like, can't I don't think Evander Kane was ever to that level, and nor was Corey Perry. So anyway, yeah. So this is a wrap. All those guys that we were kind of hoeing and humming and talking about last week, and we knew it last week, but we can't present ourselves like we know it because we didn't really know it. It wasn't 100% sure, but everything was leading up to like those 5 players were the guys that constituted this criminal act.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess we'll stop about talking about that, but yeah, we'll see what happens in the months and possibly years to come that comes out of this potential trial. Yeah. So Sammy, one thing I got to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at. I'm gonna get that banner up again. I was looking at the standings here. I'm gonna throw some stuff at you here.
Okay.
Where is the standings here? Okay, so I think there's a greater than 50% chance that the Edmonton Oilers will meet the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. So I was like, hey, I wonder who Sammy thinks the Vancouver, because we know, according to Money Puck at least, I don't know if you follow Money Puck, but they got Vancouver 99.99% chance to qualify for this year's playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're gonna make it.
In. Yeah.
I think even if they were to lose every single game, I think they'd still somehow manage to squeak in. Okay, so Vancouver currently with 74 points. Let me just take a look at the conference standings. Okay, wild card I want to see. Let's take a look at the wild card. Who are in the wild card? You got LA and St. Louis that are the wild cards. Calgary has 55 points, 1 point back of St. Louis. 54 points is Nashville. Who do you think your Canucks are going to meet in the first round?
Calgary's been playing really well lately, but there's still all the rumors of them selling off guys. And I don't think that them making the playoffs is good for their team. Like, I do think that they need to sell off and acquire assets
Yeah.
properly build. Like, I don't think them pushing for the playoffs is a good thing. It's just they look close because the West is outside of like that top 6 in the West. The West is pretty abysmal, to be honest. I don't know. St. Louis, I think, is performing above the level they should be. I think Nashville is underperforming to the level that they should be. LA is definitely underperforming.
LA's in a wild card now. I can't believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. Edmonton's in theory.
Seattle's been all right lately. What place is Seattle in right now? Like, how far behind are they?
Seattle's at 52 points.
Yeah, so they're only 3 points back.
3 points back, but they're dead even with games in hand. So they're both St. Louis and Seattle have 50 games played.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. St. Louis. To me, it's between St. Louis, LA, and probably Seattle for who Vancouver would end up playing. LA would be fun because it'd kind of be a throwback to the early 2010s and late 2000s when they played each other in the playoffs quite a few times. St. Louis would be fun because Vancouver and St. Louis have also met each other a number of times in the playoffs, including in 2020 when Vancouver knocked them out, when St. Louis was the defending champions. And Seattle would be really fun because I think that would start, or not necessarily start, but help give a jump and a boost to the Pacific Northwest rivalry of the two of them. I think that would be really fun for that.
Yeah, because I mean, Vancouver has 74, Vegas has 68, both with the same amount of games at 52 games apiece. So right now, Vancouver has a 6-point lead Vancouver has a 6-point lead on Vegas. I honestly think the Pacific is going to be won by Vancouver. I can't see Vancouver letting that slip through their fingers. I just can't. So they are definitely going to be playing the second wild card spot. Oh, well, hang on.
Well, they could play either wild card spot. I mean,
Yeah,
Colorado has been on
Dallas has
a
70
heater
points. Dallas has
lately.
70 points in the Central, so
And
they're
I'm
4 points up on Dallas.
Colorado at 70 as well, or what Colorado at?
Colorado is at 68 right now.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, either of them I could see also squeaking in to take the West. Colorado's been on a heater lately,
Yeah.
so wouldn't be surprised if they ended up winning the West.
Who would? Okay, so it's tough for you. Obviously, it's just too much of a mismatch right now. Who would you like to see Vancouver play? There's another tough one.
You think Vancouver's played St. Louis, I think, twice this year. We beat them once 5-2. We've lost another time to them 2-1, I think, or 3-2 in overtime, something like that. No, just 2-1. It was 2-1 in regulation. I don't think we played them a third time yet. LA, I can't even remember if we played LA yet this year. Seattle, Vancouver always seems to play really well against Seattle. I don't know. Like, I don't think honestly there's any team, if you look at them and take them lightly, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I can look at any and be like, oh, well, that'll be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
You know, like I can look at Seattle and be like, well, their goaltending isn't very strong, so surely Vancouver could beat them.
Yeah.
Well, Seattle's goaltending wasn't that strong last year, and they beat Colorado, the defending champions, and took Dallas to 6. You know,
and that's actually a great segue into the next subject about the strength of teams, because the Oilers just came off of a game against the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
And I expected a much. You think it's Anaheim? The Oilers should totally kill them, kick their ass, totally blow them out of the water. And it wasn't so much that game, and it's like, oh, have the Oilers lost a step since the All-Star break, which we obviously found out after the All-Star break. They played the Vegas Golden Knights, and unfortunately lost to the Vegas Golden Knights by a count of 3-2, which a lot of people in Edmonton were pissed off. But when I did my channel of Loot, I actually had a beer, and I gave them a salute for a great 16 games. They deserved it. They were, I think, more pissed off than the fan base losing that game.
I'm sure.
And it was a good game. It's not like they went into I forgot what the arena in Vegas is called.
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. It's not like they went into T-Mobile and just got blown out of the water, right? They played a tight game. It was actually a 2-1 game with an empty netter. So that just goes to show you how playoff-like that game was. They lost. Oh, well. I was actually good with it because I'm also thinking back where they were in November. Right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, they did fall short from breaking or tying the 92-93 Penguins. And I think you were mentioning that Rick Talk, it was like happy as hell that happened because he was part of that team.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was the 93-94 Penguins.
Was it the 93? Okay.
Pittsburgh won the cup or maybe it was 92-93. Yeah, Pittsburgh won the cup in 91 and then 92, and then Montreal won in 93. It was 92-93. Sorry. Yeah, he didn't want them to break the record or tie the record. He was happy that the Penguins had that record.
But he doesn't have class like Wayne Gretzky saying, "Oh, I don't mind if Ovi breaks my record." I think deep down inside Wayne Gretzky would be pissed off when Ovi would do it if he can do it. Now that's a different story altogether. We can talk that another day. But yeah, unfortunately, my team and I saw the writing on the wall. I'll be honest with you, Sammy. I'm like, they're going into an All-Star break and then they're going to face the Stanley Cup champions. You know.
Yeah, it's a perfect recipe.
Yeah, perfect recipe for failure. Again, they really turned it around, and I'm not going to complain. I'm getting anxious to watch them in 40 minutes as they take on the Kings, which should be a great game too.
Mm-hmm.
See what I don't even know who the interim coach is. I know DJ Smith is now the assistant coach of that team.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah. I thought he was the head coach, and I was just like, what? Really? They put him as head coach?
I don't understand. Even him as an assistant, I don't understand why they would hire him. But
yeah.
Oh well.
He probably still has. Look, well, yeah. I mean, with the talent he had in Ottawa, yeah. I kind of know where you're coming from. Anyway, let's
Look,
get off the Oilers subject. We talked on. You're probably sick of the Oilers right now. I'm sick of me talking about the Oilers because the last, I don't know, 4 episodes we've somehow managed to plug them in. Let's move on to. Okay. Um, yeah. Sergachev. Okay, so before I get into this, this is another trigger warning because this deals with some very graphic video that I'm going to show you guys. And for a guy like myself who has had a broken leg back in, I think, 2019 and was out of work for 5 months recouping and had a metal plate put into my leg to put it back together. Luckily, I was a little celebrating my birthday that night, if you know what I mean. So I didn't probably feel as much pain as what he did. But when I saw this injury, it just kind of like, I kind of got dizzy at first. Now I've seen it a few times. And it's graphic. So I'm going to play a portion of this video, Sammy. And those of you that are very squeamish to this, turn away right now because this is ugly. This is very ugly. Here we go, Sammy. Oh,
yeah, legs aren't supposed to
leg's
bend
not
that way.
supposed to bend that way, man. The leg is not supposed to bend that way. Sorry. I better grab some water here. Yuck. That's just, I don't like seeing that. I've seen some graphic ones in soccer too where the soccer player would go tumbling and you see the leg flopping. I'm just not good. Like it's interesting to see, but it's like that leg's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to do that. So how
No.
long? So from my understanding, so when I broke my leg, I think it was just it was a hyperextended tibia and a broken fibula, or vice versa. I can't quite remember. I think his injury is both the tibia and the fibula.
He broke both. He broke his tibia and fibia. So and he already had surgery. He had surgery, I believe, that night to stabilize it, and then I imagine he probably has another surgery. I think from what I heard, he's probably looking at months of recovery. Like
Next year.
he's probably back for training camp
Yeah.
for next season, and that sucks because now Tampa Bay has lost one of their top defensemen. But he's not. Yeah, he's not gonna be back for playoffs. Like there's no chance. Like that's
No.
playoffs are roughly 2 months away, just over 2 months away. There's no shot that he's back for playoffs. He'll still be in a cast and probably still sleep and still lying on a bed 2 months from now. Like no way, no
Well,
chance.
again, so the process with my injury. Now, I'm obviously not an athlete like those guys are, but the process was with mine. I was 5 months out of work. I told my boss I'd be back in a month. I don't know what I was thinking of. But for me, the struggles were a lot afterward. Like I was overcompensating on this leg, I guess I had a
Oh, yeah.
subconscious kind of thing. I just wanted to be careful with this leg, so I was overcompensating my left leg. Then I started getting a knee ailment in my left leg where I had to wear a knee brace, which I think I'm actually back to normal again for the first time because I haven't been wearing my knee brace. I don't even wear my. I have the feet sole things, professional feet. I forget what they're called.
Insoles.
Yeah, insoles, but they're the medical ones. They're when you actually.
Yeah.
I forgot what they're called, but I had that done and all that, and I was dealing with all these ailments. I don't use any of that stuff now, and I'm actually feeling really good. Like I feel nice and limber and that. But it was a long recovery. Now his recovery is going to be a little bit quicker because he's a multi-million-dollar athlete. They're going to put him on training programs. They're going to have all the best guys in the world surrounding him to get him up to playing ASAP. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see him at all until training camp of the 24-25 season. That was just, it was a brutal, 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 brutal injury to watch.
Yeah.
And I do apologize to my viewers for showing you that, but sometimes we just have to give you a visual of what we actually, because sometimes things are just verbally unable to describe that you have to see it. So that's why I did it. That's why I thought I would put it up. Okay, Sammy, let's move on. Get that banner down, and then we're gonna go to the All-Star game in Toronto, Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
I liked a lot of it. But then again, I'm not one that's so critical on the All-Star game in previous years. But this year, it had a lot go right for it. I thought there was a lot of good stuff, and we're gonna go through some of these slides here that I took out of it. But one thing, and then we'll have a discussion on each of one of these slides here. But the best thing that I think happened out of it wasn't anything to do with the event at all. It was the Gary Bettman press conference where he revealed that the NHL is going to return to the Olympic Games, and a deal has been made between the IOC and the NHL, and I guess they did some late night working. But we are seeing the NHL return to the Olympic Games finally. I am like, as you can see, I do have, I don't think you can see to my, no, you can't even see to my picture, but I do have the Luongo jersey and the Crosby frame there. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to watch. I know they're going to do their 4-on-4 in 26, I believe, and no, next year they're doing the 4-on-4.
It's next year in place of the All-Star game.
There's
Their
no All-Star.
Four Nations Cup or whatever.
That's fine, but it's foreign nations. It's like, whereas the Olympics is the Olympics. Like, you think the foreign nations isn't going to have Leon Draisaitl on it.
Yeah, well, I think the Four Nations thing is more or less just to dip their toes back into the NHL doing an international thing, and I think if it goes really well, then they'll expand it the next time around. Because like when you look at the World Cup of Hockey when they did it back in 2016, there wasn't a whole bunch of teams, right? Like there was the U.S., there was Canada, there was Russia, Finland, Sweden, and then I think Czechia, but then they had, Team Europe and Team North America.
Yeah. No, I think
right?
Czechia, I don't think there was Czechia. I think there was, at that point in time, there still wasn't enough players. I think that was the mishmash of Team Europe. I think Czechia, Germany.
I thought I could have sworn the Czech Republic, well, at the time they were called Czech Republic, but I could have sworn Czechia had their own team.
Yeah, because
Pretty sure they had their own team. So I remember Canada beat them 6-0. Their opening
was it
game.
Canada or was it the Young Guns of Canada?
It was Canada.
Was it Canada?
6-0. Pretty sure their opening game.
Yeah, you could be right. That was a long time ago, though, so I can't.
Well, that's 8 years ago. Which is
too long.
insane.
Too long.
I was just starting grade 12.
Oh.
I was like literally. I was a couple weeks into my grad year.
Oh,
it was crazy to me.
Brutal, and they haven't played it since then.
They haven't played it since then. No.
Jeez.
But
and that sucks. That sucks because it would have been nice to at least had one in that somewhere where you saw a good version of Crosby with McDavid. Because let's face it, Crosby, well, he's still a factor, but he's not as much of a factor as he was 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, and that Team North America had Matthews in his first professional real debut in North America. McDavid, McKinnon, Goudreau, Connor Hellebuck was the goalie, which is crazy to think he was that young. Yeah. John Gibson, Kyle Connor, McAvoy. Like that team was insane. When you actually look, if you take that roster that Team North America had at that time, and you make that an NHL team, they're like a five cup champion. Like they're repeating for the next 10 years. Like that team is disgusting. Easily. And Team Europe wasn't anything to gawk at either. Like Team Europe had a really good roster there. They were just this weird amalgamation of like Slovakia and like Switzerland.
Was Cale Makar on that team or no? I don't think he was.
Cale Makar wasn't playing yet. No. No.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I think
that was
like Seth
crazy.
Jones was on that team. Like it was a crazy team. Leon Draisaitl, I think, was on Team Europe. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Yep.
Andrzej Kopitar was, I think, the cat. No, Zdeno Chara was the captain.
Yeah.
Yaroslav Halak was their goalie. Like that was a good team too. But yeah, I don't know. Like
It was good, but
I
I think it was
miss.
executed poorly. It was a good idea, but it was just executed poorly.
Well,
'Cause you're
I don't
mixing countries, and then you have this little side thing, and that's where I thought it was too gimmicky. I was like, ah,
I don't necessarily think it was executed poorly. I just think, and I think it gained a lot of attention. But I like they planned on doing it 4 years later. But then the problem was like I think the NHLPA and then the NHL couldn't really come to a total agreement on how to
yeah,
do it. And then of
yeah,
course COVID hit, and then
yeah,
they're like, oh man, we're not doing. We definitely can't do it. So they pushed it off another year, and then COVID was still going on, so they pushed it off another year, and then COVID was still going on, so they pushed it on a third time, and then they went, whatever,
yeah,
we'll figure something else out because now they were like, well, we also, we're looking at the Olympics again, and they were dealing with the new collective bargaining agreement, and
yeah.
now we're here.
Okay, okay. Let's also talk about some of the other events that happened uh, during All Star Weekend, as it was definitely showcased by some of the world's greatest superstars, as Justin Bieber, who actually, I believe, designed the jerseys for the All Star game or had a role in designing them.
Yeah, he did.
Uh, he was one of the celebrity captains. There was four celebrity captains. I'm going to pull that up right now.
Michael Bublé for Team Hughes,
Michael
Justin Bieber,
Bublé,
Ian Matthews,
Tate
uh,
McRae for McDavid's team.
McKinnon's team.
Oh, McKinnon's team. Yeah, right. And then Arnett uh,
Yep.
was, yeah, Arnett was,
Will Arnett was McDavid.
yeah. And the other highlight, I don't know if you noticed it, if you watched the celebrity captain interview, but when Michael Bublé said that he had a microdose of mushrooms and
I did see that.
And it wasn't a microdose of mushrooms. That was hilarious watching that. I was like in tears laughing. So it's nice to see that personality, especially from a guy like Michael Bublé, who kind of has kind of a subtle kind of music about him. He's not, but for him to kind of go off like that, that threw me for a big surprise.
Oh,
And
he's
there,
awesome. Bublé's
again, there's
awesome.
the very beautiful Tate McRae. What a beautiful woman she is. Oh,
Calgary
uh,
native.
hey.
Calgary native.
Yeah, yeah, and very beautiful, beautiful girl. Um, and then it also, speaking of the women, it showcased the what is it, WP?
PWHL.
Yeah, PHL. Showcased them in a 3-on-3 tournament, which was awesome.
Yep.
Um, I've I ever since 2000, I think it was 2002 when they won the gold medal coinciding with the Canadian men. I remember watching that game like with you as much, if not, well, as much, if not the same intensity
Oh
as
yeah.
the men. Like I was totally glued to the TV, and I was like, please, I want to see the pair. You know,
Well, in 2014, in Sochi in Russia, um, the Canadian women's team and the Canadian or the American women's team face each other in the gold medal game of the Olympics, which is shouldn't be surprising because those two countries only ever seem to face each other in the gold medal game
yeah,
for women's hockey.
hmm
Um, but the U.S. went up 2-0 in that gold medal game, and then Canada came back to tie it in the third period, and then they ended up winning in overtime. And I remember I was homesick from school that day, so I was at home watching it. And my one sister, who gives does not care about sports and to any extent, does not care. She was sitting there watching so like intently with me as well.
hmm
We're watching it when Canada scored their first goal. We were both like, yes. When they tied it, both of us were like freaking out.
yeah,
And then when
with
they
me,
scored that winner in overtime, it was like I wasn't sick anymore. Like I was jumping up and screaming. Like the sickness left my body for about 5 minutes, and I'm jumping
yeah,
around screaming. Her and I are jumping and screaming. We're hugging. Like it was super cool to watch that. And like that's one of the loudest I've ever cheered for like just a goal or for a moment in sports was for women's hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And it is
The
women's hockey
moment in
can
time.
be exciting, and it is exciting, and it can be fun to watch. Just like men's hockey, just like the NHL. And
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have games you're gonna watch that are gonna be highly entertaining. Like I watched a game between the Toronto women's team and the New York women's team a couple weeks ago, and I was super entertained by it. I was like, I've watched NHL games that are crappier than this. Like this was a fun game to watch. And yeah, they might not be as fast as men's hockey, and it might not be as physical, even though that game actually had some pretty good body checks in it. Not gonna lie. Um, and there were some punches thrown and some fights and some
Mm-hmm.
pushing and shoving in that game, so it was
Yeah.
fun. But it might not be as physical and as fast as the men's game. But I don't think that's necessarily a hindrance to it. It's its own thing, right? And that's what they're trying to be. They're trying to be their own identity and figure out their own way to draw in fans by being a little bit different. And it is fun, and I've watched a few games since then. I enjoy the PWHL 3-on-3 showcase for the All-Star game this year. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah.
So,
That was actually so. Again, these are some of the highlights leading up to what was the All Star game, and even me as an Edmonton Oilers fan begin to wonder if the skills competition could have been maybe fixed a little bit by McDavid, considering he won the $1 million and he was also the one that designed kind of the events, or he had a good say in what the events were going to be.
well,
But in hindsight, when you think about it, all those events really are attritions of the NHL player. It's their handling ability, it's their shot power, it's their speed, it's all those things. So, as much as he might have had a say in how in the direction it went and end up winning the $1 million for the skills competition, how else would you do it differently?
I don't know. They've tried something different every year.
Yeah,
Seemingly, they always try and bring in something different. Like last year in Florida, to me, was way too gimmicky. Like they
yeah.
had that whole outdoor thing where they're shooting surfboards and all that crap. And when they did it in Vegas the year
Vegas,
before, whatever,
Vegas,
they're
the
doing the
beginning
pond,
was
they're playing
brutal.
shooting it on the pond or whatever. On the
Yeah, that was bad.
just a little too gimmicky to me. And I
Yeah,
like that this year it returned to it just returned to your
yeah,
standard skill competition. Everything
yeah.
was in one location. You're in the rink, and you had, of course, the staples: the hardest shot, accuracy, fastest skater, etc. But then you added a couple new things, and like that relay, or not the relay, but there's that passing challenge, which was
Mhm.
really cool. I really enjoyed that. The one at the end that McDavid did, well, I guess kind of relay, but they did a bunch of different skills you had to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
I really enjoyed that too because it's just something they added something a little different to it, but it was still something that can showcase, I think, specific skills
Yeah.
to a level that it should, right? Like
And
it
then,
didn't
them-
turn
and
into a
then let's
fun
not
game,
forget they went back to the draft. They drafted the
and
player,
that too,
which I really
which was
like.
fun.
But I think the biggest difference in this year's All Star game, and I think this is the reason why it actually was a much more greater success than, as you aforementioned, Vegas and Florida, is the fact that the skills competition had some meat on the bone. The actual event had some meat on the bone. $1 million prize is
Yeah,
no
that
chump
too,
change, right? So
that
there's
too. Yeah,
reason to actually be competitive about it and actually give it your all and actually play the way you want to play.
yeah.
And they did. The players did. The players did definitely deliver on that. As McDavid wins the million for that. Team Matthews wins the million for the 3-on-3 event. And it was neat. Like with McDavid's team, you had Pasternak on there. You would never have that in any normal one. So and that's also contributed to. And Hellebuck was on our team, which which was awesome. Like, and that's a contribution of the fact that it was a draft and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was a success. I really do. Do they still need to work on lots? I still think they're far away from really making it a excellent event. But getting away from the gimmicky shootouts where he's wearing a cape and sunglasses and looks like Elvis and all that, not for me, man. I want to see the skills. I don't want to see them do the flash and dash and dress up like that. Like to me, it just take it just. I don't care for it, right? And I think OV was probably the first one to start it wearing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was the first to start wearing Jaeger's hat or something like a Jaeger wig or
I
something.
don't, I don't know. I like the one year that Subban dressed up as Yager. I thought that was
Oh,
pretty
was
good.
that Subban? Okay.
No, I know what you're talking about with the Ovi one, but Subban the one year put on a Florida Panthers jersey, put a mullet like wig on with like a Jofa bucket on top of it, and had like the Cooperall like pants,
Yeah.
and then at the end he scored, and then he did the Yager salute. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of fun,
Well, but that's
but I
that's
understand like the dressing up like you said like Elvis and stuff
that's
like
one
that.
thing
A
Subban
little
has,
too much.
and yeah, that's one thing Subban has, and he even has that even on I think on ESPN now is that he has that he brings that personality.
Yeah.
He's good on TV. He's really good on TV. And is that that's a wrap for that. Sammy, this has been an episode. This has been a very good episode. We discussed a lot of stuff, and most of it was happy stuff that we talked about, which is really, really good to know. Um, yeah, let's go into our final thoughts. No one has chimed in today, there, Sammy. So, any final thoughts for you there, buddy? Any takeaways from the last 2 weeks? Any news that you might have that I may have not mentioned that did take place?
Nothing else overly. The only thing is there's like this massive rumor right now about Phil Kessel and the Canucks. We'll see if that comes true.
Yeah,
I think Kessel could be a good fit in like Vancouver's bottom six. Could
yeah,
slot into the top six if you really needed him, but I think he's a still a serviceable guy that if Vancouver signed him for league minimum for the year, I'd be fine with it. Um, that's really the only big rumor that I've kind of seen floating around
yeah.
Vancouver.
I'm hearing a ton
Little.
coming out of Edmonton. Ton.
Edmonton is linked to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody. Like doesn't matter what player it is. You look
They're
on the
even
front
linked to
line, it's
Jordan
like, oh,
Eberle, believe it
Edmonton's
or not.
linked to Chris Tanev. Oh, Edmonton's linked to this goaltender.
Yeah,
Edmonton's linked to this guy. To
uh,
this. They're
yeah,
they're linked to everybody, and that's just because Edmonton's they're trying to go for it, which rightfully so.
yeah,
They're trying to win, and so of course their name is going to be circulated amongst any prize that's out there right now.
mhm,
And that's the same with any
yeah.
contender. I see Boston linked to pretty much all the same people the Oilers are. Toronto was linked to even more people than Edmonton is. So
How? Like, where do
because
they find the money for the cow?
Toronto knows Toronto like they know that fan base is probably the most relentless fan base in the entire National Hockey League. But I think that management knows, Brad Treliving, Brendan Shanahan know that if they have anything other, honestly, if Toronto does anything less than at least a conference final this year, that team is going to implode. The fan base will be carrying around Treliving
Oh
and
yeah,
Shanahan's heads on pikes,
yep,
right?
yeah. There's a
And
lot of weight on that man's
and
shoulders.
Keith and Sheldon Keefe, like I fully agree as not necessarily a wholehearted Toronto Maple Leaf fan, but I enjoy Leafs hockey. Um, I wholeheartedly agree that if this team does anything less than a conference final, that team needs to blow up. Especially
Yeah,
if they're ousted in the first round, and even the way they're going right now, they're not playing great, and they very much look like they can drop out of even a divisional spot because Detroit was only like a point or two behind Toronto, and Detroit beat Vancouver today, much to my dismay. And
yeah,
it's close, And Detroit has been playing so well lately. They aren't too realistically. Detroit has 60 points and Toronto has 60 points.
hmm. So it's tight. It's really
It's
tight.
tight. And so
Now, as far as you saying blowing up, well, I'll tell you what, they're gonna. I think Tavares' contract is this Tavares' last year.
this year and next year,
Yeah, so that's the one thing that they might be able to get rid of. William Nylander, since getting the money, has been kind of average,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Like
he's got
I
a lot of money still on the books, a lot of money.
one of my buddies who's a diehard Leafs fan. He's like he said that if they, especially if they fail to make the playoffs, but if they lose in the first or second round, that trade everyone other than Matthews and Riley and blow the team up.
Yeah.
Trade everyone other than that. Marner, you can get back first round picks or multiple first rounders, multiple serviceable players to slot in for much cheaper. Nylander, you could do the same. Tavares, you could do the
But does
same.
the team want to take on Nylander's contract? That's where the
Does the team want to take on Nylander, Marner, or Tavares' contract? All of them are over $10 million or $11 million.
Yeah.
You know, somebody would. I'm sure there's somebody out there that would take it on. Like, I don't know. I'm sure Toronto could trade friggin' Marner to LA. You know, LA's got the cap. They can send him to LA and bring in, I don't know.
They've inflated the market so stupid because Draisaitl right now is going to get more than Nylander. And I did an episode where I calculated some math figures of point production to their contracts. If you were to take from based off of last year's stats, I did this a couple episodes ago on Loop. If you were to take McDavid point production of last season to Matthews' point production, there's an 80% increase in point production. That would put him at $22.5 million per year. If you did math, if the math coincided with your point production. Crazy. And obviously that wouldn't happen because there's a cap, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, Sammy, I think we yammered and did a nice long episode here. So I think I am going to have you send us on our way uninterrupted, I might add, like I did the last couple episodes. I'm going to let you do this all on your own, and I'm going to shut up right now. How about her, Sammy?
Well, hope everyone has a good Saturday night full of hockey and a good upcoming week of hockey. If you also like football, hope you have fun watching the Super Bowl tomorrow. I know I am. My family's planning a whole bunch of fun appetizers and fun food and stuff for tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. So if you're interested, I hope you have a good time with that tomorrow as well. A good time. Hope you have a good and prosperous upcoming week. You know, we're almost halfway through February, which is crazy. It's nice, beautiful weather here for us in the Okanagan where we are located. So I hope that wherever you may be, that it is as well nice and warm or pleasant weather and pleasant times for you ahead.
That's right, Sammy. And so enjoy the Taylor Swift show and the commercials. And if you got time, maybe watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be. Everything's going to be about Taylor and Kelsey. And hey, if Kansas wins, just be prepared for more Taylor Swift, even more. She just prepare for pictures of her holding the Lombardi Trophy. You can actually see right here what I'm pointing at. That's actually a Kansas City Chiefs toque on my shelf right there. So I know who I'm voting for. If the 49ers win, I won't be upset because I like them too. So.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Well, none of you guys really joined in tonight, but if you're going to watch this, come and join us. We want to answer your questions. We want your input. Other than that, enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy Super Bowl weekend. I got a hockey game to watch in 10 minutes. So we are out of here. We'll catch you in 2.
All right.